I've never played Outer Wilds, but in this series, I'm changing that. Welcome back. Alright, we're back, and I really don't like Giant's Deep very much. Ride the lift, board the ship, back into space, Brittle Hollow. As I approach, I realise that the planet is a lot more whole than I remember it being, so now I'm operating under the assumption that this is the exact cause of moments that the planet begins to collapse in on itself. That's kind of interesting, actually. I spot a strange structure and land close by. I am beginning to think that landing and I are just never meant to be. This isn't particularly one of my most graceful moments, but it's better than some other attempts, I guess. Nevertheless, I find what appears to be a distress beacon and a Nomai text that confirms it's one of three. There's a wire leading into the larger structure, and the Nomai text states that there's a path constructed further down below. Well, I want to head to the gravity cannon or the Tower of Quantum Knowledge, so maybe I can find my way from here? Sure enough, after traversing the structure, I find a rudimentary way down. And then it starts collapsing. Then I fall. And keep falling. I translate one more piece of Nomai text and then I fell into the black hole. My ship is now very, very far away, and I'm struggling to control my movement here. I get what can be called my bearings, and start looking around, and all I can really see are what I assume are parts of Brittle Hollow. I'm running out of fuel and oxygen, and I have no idea what's happening. This wasn't what my intentions were at all when I returned to Brittle Hollow. Did I manage to land in the place that falls into the black hole first, or what? What's strange about this is what I can see from where I am. The rest of the solar system, at least I think that's what it is still actually in view. But I'm kind of stuck. I get close to an object called the Interloper, which I suppose is the comet I saw however long ago. I struggle to actually approach it, however. Then my fuel runs out. But I keep trying to get to the Interloper. I appreciate the warnings my suit's giving me, but I'm just choosing to pay no attention to them right now. Then my oxygen runs out. Back we go. Wake up. Back to the ship. Back to Brittle Hollow. I land? Then I repair the ship. I've got it into my head now that if I want to explore anything on this planet, I should probably do so as soon as possible after I wake up, because that black hole is hungry. The first thing I find upon landing is another one of those projection stones, similar to the one I found on Giant's Deep. This one shows me the inside of a huge structure, and then gives me some more Nomai text to translate. The translation mentions a quantum moon and learning things at the Tower of Quantum Knowledge. It even provides directions on how to get there from my current location, so I set off. Exploring Brittle Hollow whilst it's mostly intact is a far more luxurious affair than once the black hole has had some time to start doing its work. I made it to the tower relatively quickly and unharmed, except for the part where I nearly fell into the black hole again. This time though, I've learned things. I know how to use my jetpack. I promise, this isn't overconfidence speaking. Me and this jetpack have become one. One narrow escape from that unpleasantness and a quick jaunt through cool rings and I'm at the tower. Well, almost. Looks like there are more cool rings in my future. Okay, I've genuinely made it. There's no my writings that say I should ascend the stairs, but the way up is broken. I explore a little further and I realise that the entrance at the bottom of the tower is the only one I can find. Whatever knowledge is in there isn't something I'm likely to find today. Instead, I continue my ascent using the stairs on the outside of the tower. There's an unidentified signal here, as well as some further Nomai writing and a much larger version of the weird quantum rock that I saw back in the museum on Timber Hearth. According to the Nomai translation, the rock is having an effect on the local trees. And it doesn't seem to just be the trees either. Other matter in the area seems to be moving in some eerie way. I'm fine with that. The rock comes into view, and I spot something on top of it. Naturally, I must know what that something is. However, I'm not too sure on how to get to the top of the rock from my current location. I use the probe on the rock and discover a frequency of quantum fluctuations emanating from it. It's also worth mentioning that these sound incredibly creepy and make me feel super uneasy. Then, I have a flash of inspiration. My scout launcher has a camera on it. I can use that to ensure that the rock is always seen and then it won't move, making me able to get on top of it. I feel really clever. It doesn't answer the question of how I actually get up there though. Then I figure, what about a good old-fashioned rocket jump? And sure enough, the sense of pride and accomplishment is mine. Another Nomai text waits for me. The rock is potentially a part of the quantum moon. The signal it's releasing can also be found on Giant's Deep, Timber Hearth and the Hourglass Twins. I wonder if the signal on Timber Hearth is the one in the museum or something else. File that away for later. I didn't find a way into the observatory, but this information is interesting, and my interest at this juncture is fully piqued. Even if I'm still extremely confused and have no idea what's going on. But I'm going to find out. I head back underground, as best you could describe it as anyway, thinking I could explore a little bit further, maybe find that observatory. Then the planet collapses, and I'm in the black hole again. Great. I spot a structure not far from where I've emerged, we'll go with emerged, and make my way towards it. But I'm going too fast. Way too fast. Wake up. Board ship. Head for Brittle Hollow. Miss. Try again. This is the loop I am going to the observatory. For real. I keep getting distracted by things, and I've been meaning to find the path to the observatory for hours now. All I know for sure is that the trail to the observatory is somewhere near the Tower of Quantum Knowledge. Nearby, I can hear Rybeck playing his banjo, but I'm struggling to find the way back to the tower. Eventually, I spot something I recognise. The rings that open the gravity bridge are activated, and I'm back. And there, at last, the trail ahead. One more gravity lift to go then. This is not the loop I'm going to the observatory. Wake up. Lift. Ship. Launch. No. Wait. I should check my log. My mind has wandered, and I spend some time recapping what I know about the quantum shards and signals. There are several more signals I've yet to discover, one of which is here on Timber Hearth. That sounds like it'd be safer than Brittle Hollow, so maybe that's what I should try and find. Launch the ship. Take off. Check the signal. Oh. It looks like it's coming from the museum, actually. Well, never mind. Brittle Hollow it is, then. As I make the trek, I start to realise that my penchant for distractions isn't helping me get anywhere insofar as solving this mystery goes. I'm still very much just wandering around in the dark, following little threads of information here and there, but I don't feel like I've made any particularly substantial discoveries thus far. I managed to locate the Tower of Quantum Knowledge, via the surface this time, which should make my journey down to the gravity bridge that was my undoing last time at least a little bit easier. Blink, and I'm back. This time, I will make the jump. Not before I take a moment to look away from what I'm about to do. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And make it I do. Then I'm distracted by gravity crystals again. I stand by my initial reaction to these things, back in the museum. They're brilliant. If a little disorienting. So, now what? I have no idea if I'm going in the right direction and start jumping across pillars, fully aware that the black hole I have become intimate with so many times now is just below, inviting me in. I keep going. Another set of gravity crystals this time. Except there's ghost matter in the way. That's the stuff that was fenced off back home, with the sign that said, "It will kill you," in front of it. Okay, not that way then. Find a way past the ghost matter, round a corner, and... Is that a way back up to the surface? My minimap is showing that I'm right where I should be. The observatory is supposed to be on this pole. Okay, I'm below it. All I need to do is get up there. As I make these jumps, my mind goes back to the fact that, you know, there's a black hole below me. This is dangerous. Bit silly. But, you know, I've come this far. What's a few more? This looks like one of those where I've only got one shot to get it correct. Okay, no, we're good. We're actually good. We're really good. We're fine. We're so good. We are so good right now. It's fine. That was not close at all. Okay. Nerves are a bit frayed. Round 2. Here we go. I've made it. I'm in. This is where the projection stone on Giant's Deep showed me, so I know I'm in the right place. Now all I need to do is find that information. The Nomai were studying Giant's Deep in the tornadoes from here, and they found a way to get below the sea. I pull out my translator, and I get to work. They call the tornadoes cyclones. Most of these cyclones rotate clockwise and send things up into orbit. A rarer type of cyclone, however, rotates counterclockwise and sends things down. That sounds promising. I'm not sure what I'm going to find under the sea of Giant's Deep, but I know what to look for if I want to get there. I find another model of the solar system in here, one of Nomai design. It shows the orbit of all the celestial bodies within the system, and the final model shows a more peculiar sight. An indeterminate orbit with no criteria for the eye of the universe having been found. More writing in the observatory indicates that the Nomai were sincere in their hunt for the eye, whatever it is, and opted to launch a probe to search for it visually. To launch this probe, they intended to build a cannon around Giant's Deep. My assumption is that this is the same thing that I see blowing up in the skies overhead every time I wake up. That's not all I learn here, though. The Nomai actually travelled to this solar system in search of the eye of the universe. They were summoned here by it calling out to them. But since arriving, they haven't made any progress in finding it. They even hypothesized that the signal it's sending had stopped, and maybe the eye doesn't want to be found at all. So, my question is the eye of the universe alive? For now, I think I've gleaned all I can from the observatory here on Brittle Hollow, so it's back to the ship, travelling over the slowly but surely collapsing planet. Then it happened again. I make what I like to believe is a valiant effort to save myself. Truthfully, I know it wasn't valiant at all. I probably just looked like a prat. Hello, old friend. This time, though, I spot something floating in the weird space through the black hole. A structure with those gravity walls I've seen a few times elsewhere. My fuel levels are critical, but I make my way towards it all the same. The fact that I'm able to land on it, and they are in fact gravity walls, is nothing short of a miracle, honestly. I'll not deny that I'm not happy about this, though. I am. I fall into the black hole, but I've managed to achieve something constructive. I haven't just crashed into something and died, or choked to death and died. This is progress. It's good. Eventually, I locate an entrance to the structure and find my way inside, assuming it's just a piece of brittle hollow. But no, it isn't that at all. This is Whitehole Station. I learned that accidentally falling through the black hole on Brittle Hollow is a common occurrence, and I feel like far less of an idiot than I did a few seconds ago. This station is apparently a warp tower, and it can send me back to the planet. Just stand on the platform when the station and planet reach an alignment with each other. There's a projection stone in here too, but I find nowhere for it to go. There's a mechanism, but I'm not sure what it does. I decided that I should bring the projection stone with me and stand on the warp platform, and then I wait. I'm feeling a little bit apprehensive about this. The rotation brings the star into view, and I'm feeling really apprehensive actually. What happens if I get warped into the star? But the Nomai haven't steered me wrong yet, aside from that gravity bridge situation, and a second later I'm out. The warp worked. I'm not entirely sure where on Brittle Hollow I am, but I am definitely back on the planet's surface. There's a small Nomai device that shows a departure and arrival time, referring, I assume, to the warp itself. The arrival time appears to be a fraction of a second before the departure time. Not the weirdest thing I've dealt with recently, though. Exploring where I've arrived, I learned that the Nomai discovered a discrepancy in the warp technology. There's a mention of this violating causality, so the Nomai just put it down to an error, and I'm kind of wondering if what I saw on the log recording earlier was an example of this error. Better than that, I found somewhere I can put down the Ember Twin projection stone, so I'm pretty pleased I hung on to that. Pretty pleased indeed. The Nomai identified what the departure and arrival time I noticed earlier showed. An object arrives here slightly before it departs Whitehole Station. The Nomai were researching this phenomenon on Ember Twin at a facility named the High Energy Lab. So the conclusion to all of this? I've been distracted again. I make it back to the ship. Somehow it's still on the actual surface of Brittle Hollow and hasn't found its way into the moor below. I figure I should probably review the log at this point, as I've been hit with a barrage of new information. In brief, the Nomai came to this solar system following a signal from the eye of the universe. Cyclones on Giant's Deep send things into orbit. There is a rare type of cyclone that spins counterclockwise and sends things down below the ocean's surface. The Nomai developed warp technology. There is a tiny fraction of a second of displacement when the warp technology is used from within the black hole. There is research on this phenomenon to be found on Ember Twin at the High Energy Lab. I am not the only person to accidentally fall into the black hole multiple times. The log also states that there is more to be found here on the north pole of Brittle Hollow, and I head back to the ruin. Sure enough, there's some further information about a moon that randomly appears above this planet. Feldspar apparently visited this ruin too. That's the name of the person Tefra told me disappeared. Then I learned something else. Thank you for joining me on this continuing journey. I'm sure there's much and more out there waiting to be found, and I hope you'll join me. Until next time, it's been Outer Wilds.